Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of The Cassidy Show. So today I want to touch on social media, the very broad topic that is social media. The reason why I want to talk on this is because obviously I launched the first episode of the show last week, and what I found in this industry is whenever I put myself out there, whenever you try something new, it opens you up to a world of feedback and criticism and positive comments and negative comments, and it's something that I've basically avoided for the last 18 months. So I wasn't really used to the feedback that I got. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of it was really lovely, really positive. You guys are super excited about the show, which makes me really happy. But of course, there was some negative comments. There was constructive criticism. I welcome constructive criticism. Don't think that I just want to hear you guys blow smoke up my ass. I appreciate constructive criticism. I think it's just the art form of giving it that a few people need to work on, because there's constructive criticism and then there's just people being downright assholes. So in saying that, it got me thinking on today's topic, which is social media, and I wanted to deep dive into my experience with social media, my life before Love Island, and my experience with social media. So that is what I wanted to talk about today, and you guys seem to be really excited about it, so that's where we're going to go with today's episode. So my very first memory on social media is I was in high school, and growing up, social media wasn't huge. Obviously, we grew up in the Tumblr and Bebo and MySpace days. What a blast from the past that is. We grew up with that, but I feel like we are the first generation that is growing up with social media being from this very start of our lives, basically. I grew up from age 0 to 12 without having any kind of social media, but from 13, I was on Bebo, I was on MySpace, I was on Facebook. So my very first experience, I can obviously remember MySpace and Bebo, and I can remember the ranking of the friends in like the equivalent of the bio back in the day. And if you would have a fight with a friend, you'd get moved down the ranks, or if you stopped being friends with them, you'd get completely removed from the rank of the friends list. That wasn't really a very prominent memory of mine. I think maybe because I didn't have an overly negative impression of social media back then. I can't remember what the forum was, but you could, people could send in anonymous questions or opinions of you, and you could set it so that they could either be sent in anonymously or there had to be their name behind it. I remember that was like pretty gruesome back in the day, and that was the first time I realized that holy shit, people can be pretty brutal online. But my very first experience of social media, not necessarily negative or positive, but my very first experience of memory of social media having an impact on me as a human was, I think I was in like year 11, and I was at a sleepover with one of my really good friends, and there was another girl that was with us as well. I wasn't necessarily super close with her, but she was known as the popular girl, and she was probably also like the mean girl of school. And we were making breakfast together the next morning, and my friend took a photo of us and like tagged us all. And I remember thinking like, holy shit, I'm going to be online with this like really popular girl, and what are people going to think? Like, I remember thinking it's not just us at a sleepover, like being in her presence was one thing, but having it posted online, I was like, oh my God, like what a rush. Like obviously back then I was young, I wasn't emotionally mature enough to really like unpack why I felt that way, but I can still vividly remember those feelings now of just being so excited that this was going to be on social media. So I just think that's really interesting, especially in this day and age. Like back in my day, like social media wasn't that exciting, but obviously it fucking was, because that memory has stuck with me. So my presence on social media, more so before Love Island, I can still remember. So fast forward to graduating high school, going to uni, and then like working and being normal outside of high school. I remember Instagram was the new thing. Facebook was sort of like, we were past Facebook at this point. So in high school, Facebook was the main social media platform. I remember back in the day, people were writing the statuses like this status, and I'll tell you one thing I like and one thing I don't like about you. And that was sort of the degree of it. And like the amount of likes that you got and the amount of comments you got and like how many people posted on your wall for your birthday. Like that was the extent of it. But for the most part, I was only friends with people that I knew online. I know that the amount of people that you had as friends on Facebook was like a big thing. Like the people that had like thousands of friends on Facebook, you were kind of like, holy shit, which is like just so strange to think back on. But my time on social media before Love Island, I do remember quite vividly. It's only like 4 years ago. My memory's not that shit. I remember the people that I followed. I remember the feelings I had towards the more famous people I followed. I remember like back then, like 5 years ago, following people like Steph Claire Smith, Elise Knowles, like the Victoria's Secret supermodels, like Brooke Hogan. Like I remember following these beautiful women and loving following them. I never had any negative feelings or thoughts towards them. I never thought that they had any negative impact on my life. I enjoyed following them. Did they do things and say things to piss me off from time to time? Sure, like as everyone does. But I never vocalized it. I hand on my heart, I've never sent a hurtful message. I've never bullied anyone online. I've never left a shitty comment to anyone I don't know. Like I've 99% sure like I would have sent, I don't know, someone's post or like taken a screenshot of someone's post and sent it to my friends and been like, oh, like what a crock of shit or something like that. But I never actively went out of my way to let this person know that I didn't like them. And I sure as shit wasn't hate following anyone. And back then, hate following wasn't even a thing. I don't think that was a concept that we were aware of yet. And I don't even think people knew that they were hate following. That came years later that it became a thing. So I can confidently say that my being on social media before Love Island was pretty neutral. I didn't have any negative experiences with it. I, for the most part, followed people I wanted to follow and avoided people that I didn't really like. Sure, I would like go and like stalk them and see what they were up to, but I didn't really care. I do remember that Facebook in like the back when, say, like Kira Maguire, who's someone that I'm quite good friends with now. I remember her season of The Bachelor. She was receiving quite a lot of hate on Facebook. Facebook is where a lot of the negativity was breeding. It was a lot of like middle-aged men and women writing really awful things on the post, and it was just terrible to read. And I remember even before my experiencing it, Kira was just the villain of Australia and people just loved to hate her. And I remembered thinking like, this is awful. Like I didn't even know her at the time. And I remembered thinking logically, I was capable of thinking logically as like a young 20-year-old something, being like, this is so unreasonable. Like this is crazy. Doesn't matter how awful she was on the show. This is crazy that people are saying this. One question that I got often when I asked you guys to ask me questions was, do I think that social media contributes to eating disorders or unhealthy body standards or anything like that? And I think back before I became someone a lot of people followed on social media, I don't think it was necessarily people like influencers or models that we were following on Instagram that contributed to that. I think the tabloids were still a big problem back then. Like we can all remember the awful headlines that we would read about celebrities, like if they were photographed with cellulite on the beach, or if they looked like shit going to get their morning coffee or running errands, or if they put too much effort into their appearance, they were trying too hard, or if they didn't put any effort into their appearance, they didn't care enough. Like women in particular were just constantly scrutinized. And I think that is where a lot of the issues stemmed from back in the day. I don't even think Instagram was a beast in itself just yet. I think it was still paparazzi and journalists doing the most damage. Whereas nowadays, I still don't think social media is the main issue for it. And I will get into that a little bit later on. I think there's a bit more to it, and I think there's a bit of responsibility that we all need to take for that. So when I chose to go on Love Island, I think a lot of people assumed that we went on Love Island because we wanted the fame and the fortune and the followers, and we wanted this really luxurious lifestyle that is influencing. But our season of Love Island was the very first season for Australia, and there was no reality shows before our season of Love Island where reality stars were coming off with hundreds of thousands of followers. They weren't really coming off with an amount of followers that was life-changing, for lack of a better word. They were coming off with quite a lot of followers, but our season of Love Island was the first one where we were coming off with hundreds of thousands of followers, where it was like, holy shit. I think it was because, correct me if I'm wrong, but Love Island was the first reality show where it was on 5 nights a week and for an hour. So it was a lot of viewing. You guys felt like you knew us, and with that came this sense of entitlement because you guys are watching us for an hour a night, 5 nights a week. You fucking know us. You're basically immediate family at this point. So when we came off the show, we had no idea. Well, I can only speak for myself. I had no idea that when they handed me my phone back that it was going to be the loaded gun that it was. Because when the New Islanders were coming on the show, they would say to us like, oh, wow, Cassidy, you're the most followed like on Instagram. And I would be like, holy shit. They weren't following that sentence with, you're also getting a lot of hate. So all we knew was that, oh my God, we're gaining followers. The producers quickly like nipped that in the bud. They didn't like the New Islanders telling us that we were gaining lots of followers. So all we knew was that we were gaining lots of followers. We must be the most loved people in the world. It doesn't matter, like this, that, and the other. The producers had to nip that in the bud pretty quickly because they didn't want us fixating on it. And like I said, it was the first ever series for Australia. We had no idea that anyone would want to follow us. We didn't know whether the show itself was going to flop because Australia as consumers of reality TV are quite conservative. We didn't for a long time admit that we enjoyed watching it. It wasn't until a couple of years ago that people admitted that they actually enjoyed watching MAFS and were quite vocal about it. Up until a couple of years ago, reality show was trash and you didn't absorb it. It was just mindless TV that no one would admit to watching, but everyone watched. So being the first season for Australia, we had no idea that this was going to happen. So then when I got off the show, it felt like they had handed me back this child and I didn't know how to take care of it. Like I had this huge following. I had hundreds of thousands of opinions coming at me left, right, and center. I didn't know what to do with it. And obviously, you read the comments, you read the articles, you read the messages, and my experience was quite negative. I was receiving quite a lot of hate and it was really hard. It was something I'd never experienced before. And obviously in high school you get bullied and it's from someone that actually knows you or someone, a friend of a friend of a friend or someone in the town. Like, whereas being bullied by thousands of people for completely insane things, but you feel their entitlement and you feel the force behind it and how much they mean the words they're saying. It's so confronting. And the first thing that everyone says is like, well, don't read it. Or who cares? They're just strangers on the internet. Like, until you're in these shoes, you have no idea how you will react to it. And I personally always thought I would never let it affect me. I would never absorb it. I would never take it on board. And for a long time, I thought I wasn't taking it on board. But probably 2 weeks after I got off the show, I had my first breaking moment. It was when these people started attacking my family and they wished that my entire family died in a plane crash. And I was just like, holy shit, these people are actually insane. Like, how are you... It's one thing to come after me. You think you know me. You watch me on a reality show. Fine. I'll level with you there. But to come after my family, it was so upsetting. And I hated the idea of my family reading that because as people liked to remind us, it was our decision to go on a reality show. We did this to ourselves. What do you expect? It comes with the territory. Well, my family didn't choose to go on a reality show. It doesn't come with it doesn't come with the territory for them. Leave them out of it. Like, it's a low blow. I don't know. I'm making light of it now because I don't want this episode to be so fucking dark and morbid, but at the time I was distraught. And then that's when I developed this thing with my brother where if it would get too much, I would fly up to Townsville and I would have a detox and I would calm down from it all. Mind you, this was like 2 weeks after the show. Unfortunately, this went on for about 15 months post Love Island because once it aired in Australia, thankfully I didn't see the start of the hate because I was in the show and I was protected and we didn't have access to the outside world. So I just got like the last bit of it. But then they sold our season to the UK and America and everywhere else around the world. And every couple of months it would end up airing in a different country on a different streaming site. And yet this time I'm experiencing the whole timeline. I mean, I'm having their raw live emotions, and it was a lot. And it went on for like 15 months and it was so overwhelming. So I started to develop a thick skin very quickly. It was, this will either make or break you, because as well, if you can't hack it, like if you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen. And I was one of the lucky ones that was given a big enough platform that I could make a career out of this. It's not what I set out to do. This is not the career trajectory that I saw for my life going in. As I said, we didn't know we were going to end up with a huge following, but I was given this opportunity and I would be mad if I didn't take it. And of course I wanted to take advantage of this new career I was given and all these opportunities and all these possibilities. It was just a whole new life had just been opened up for me. Of course I'm going to give it a crack. So you have one of two options. You either give in to the hate and let it break you and it'll destroy you, or you learn to deal with it. You get the fuck over it and you move on. I went with the latter, thinking that I'll be fine. It'll be fine. All is well. And all was not well. It significantly affected my mental health. Of all the things I've experienced in my life, I've lost my dad to cancer. I watched him die. My mum had cancer. I've experienced addiction in my family. I've dealt with strained relationships with immediate family. Of all the things in my life that I've dealt with, none of them sent me to therapy faster than social media did. I'll laugh about it because it's a coping mechanism. My therapist will hate this, but it's true. I thought I was dealing with it fine. It wasn't until my brother didn't have social media. He only got Instagram about 6 months ago. And the hate and online bullying went from Facebook to Instagram about a year after Love Island. So he never saw the hate. He never read the comments. And I hated the idea of my mum or my sister or my brother reading these things about me. I hated it with a raging passion. And so I tried to protect them as much as I could from it by deleting it and just avoiding it, digging my head in the sand and just pretending like it wasn't happening. Because I also didn't want to burden them with this, because for a long time I was told, it comes with the territory, you asked for this, what else do you expect? You need to suck it up, you're an influencer, you have an easy job, you have nothing to complain about. I'm not complaining. I'm so grateful for everything that I have and everything that my life is now. But that's not to say that it's been a very long journey in getting to this point. And so my brother was in the army and now he works in construction. My sister's a nurse. Like they've worked in very, very, very hard trades. I will never complain to them about my job. I will never vent to them about what I was going through, or I thought that I couldn't, because that's what I was told online. I could never talk about what I was going through. So my brother had no idea. His friends followed me on Instagram, and when it would get really bad, they would tell him, and he would call me and he'd say, hey, I think it's time you come up to Townsville and we have a family weekend. And I would do that every couple of months. Obviously at the start, when I first got off the show, like 2 weeks after, and I had that first meltdown when people were coming after my family, he saw how it affected me. He saw that I was human and that I cried, and and that I was a highly emotional person. I was the highly emotional girl that he always knew me as, because I've always been a crybaby. But after about a year, he noticed that it stopped affecting me. He'd be like, do you want to come up to Townsville? And I'd be like, yeah, sure. And I'd come up, and I wouldn't need to talk about anything. I wouldn't need to take a break from my phone. I would be seemingly fine on the outside. And even Perry, his wife, would try and, because I'm not one with my feelings, they would try and like pry information out of me, see how I'm going, and I wouldn't talk about it. I wouldn't feel the need to talk about it. And then my brother sort of sat me down one day and just said, like, do you believe the things that people are writing about you online to be true? Like, do you think that they're true? And I admitted, yeah, like when you read something about yourself enough, you start to believe it. Do I necessarily think it's true? No, but do I believe it about myself? Yeah, like I must be a shitty person, because how else could thousands of people have the same opinion of me, sort of thing. So it was that turning moment with my brother where he said, I do not want you to think that these things these people are saying about you are true. Because he witnessed firsthand this hard exterior. The worst part of it, though, was this hard exterior that I'd built up, and this thick skin, and this learning to not give a fuck, and water off a duck's back, and it comes with the territory. I was like, yeah, I'm a mad bitch. Like, I don't give a fuck anymore. Like, social media, whatever. Like, did not care. You could say whatever you wanted about me, and I wouldn't give a damn. I'd have a meltdown like once a month, and it would last half a day, and then I'd be like, ugh, whatever. Like, they're losers sitting at home, and it's jealousy. My brother was the first person to say, that's not normal. I do not want this from you. I want this to change. And I'm so incredibly grateful for this conversation that I had with him, because it was the beginning of the end. It was a turning point for me, because this was about 18 months ago. From that point on, I learnt to draw back a bit. I learnt to pull back from social media and remove myself from it. I stopped letting it control my life so much. So following this conversation with my brother, it changed something in me, and it made me realize where I was going wrong with social media, because yes, I was being trolled online and I was being bullied heavily, but I, to a degree, was enabling it. Because the thing that I quickly learned was, the more I open up to you guys, or the more open I am on social media, the more I reveal insecurities, the more I give, the more I'm allowing my trolls to come back at me with and use as ammunition against me. So the hardest part was drawing back, because you guys felt betrayed in a way. There was this sense of entitlement that I was withholding from you guys, and you guys felt like I was pulling back, and it was really hard. But mentally, I needed that, because my mental health did deteriorate rapidly. There was a point where I was the lowest I had ever been mentally, and I was taking every single hate comment online personally, and it was a really, really dark time for me. And the only way I knew how to process it was to pretty much start from scratch and do a complete refresh. And that's when, like, I had been in a relationship for a year and you guys didn't know. And then I'd felt comfortable enough and secure enough that I could talk about it online, because I also don't like the idea of having a public relationship online, because I don't want the endless amounts of opinions and voices coming at my relationship. The scrutiny that I see relationships under, first-time mums under, like anyone under, is just too much pressure. And especially for a new relationship, I didn't want that. As much as I wanted to share it with you and be open with you and talk to you guys about it, I just knew that I needed to protect that part of me. But in saying that, it was really hard, because I loved how close I was with you guys. It was a very open book. The one thing that I was known for was being open and honest and relatable, and that down-to-earth girl. And I felt like I was lying because I was withholding so much information. So for that first little part there, for about 6 months, it was really hard for me to to juggle oversharing and not sharing enough sort of thing, because when I would reveal insecurities, it blew my mind at how quickly people would use them against me and throw it back in my face and use it as a way to like bully me. Was just absurd. So do I think social media has affected my mental health? Yes, obviously it has, but I think I need to take responsibility for that as much as my bullies need to take responsibility for it. I have learned how to not absorb as much as I was on social media. I know everyone says this, it's the cliche saying, but Instagram is a highlight reel. Social media in general is a highlight reel. Right now, for example, everyone's at Coachella and I'm getting FOMO. I don't know why I'm getting FOMO. I don't like festivals. I'm claustrophobic and I get anxiety, like really bad social anxiety in crowded situations. Coachella is literally my idea of hell. But because everyone's posting these amazing, glamorous times that they're having, I'm like, fuck, I want to be there. Like, I'm so sad I wasn't there. My lack of relevance also didn't allow for me to be invited to come by any brands, but I also just didn't care enough to go on my own accord. But my point is, Coachella is known for being like an incredible, amazing festival, but it's also known for like the kilometer walk into the festival, the 45-minute lines, like fucking the shoulder to shoulder. No one's posting the downfalls of Coachella. Everyone's just posting the highlight reels. And comparison on social media is the worst part of it. Social media has so many beautiful things about it, but comparison really is the thief of joy. I can't tell you the amount of times I've compared myself to situations and had to really work hard to realize it's not all there is in life, because I myself do it. I managed to hide a relationship from you guys for a year and you didn't know. I was planning on moving overseas for said relationship and you guys didn't know. But what you guys didn't see was how devastating that long distance relationship was. Like, you guys didn't know how distraught and how upset I was. I was going through that breakup. I didn't tell you guys that we had broken up until 4 months after we'd broken up. I was able to hide the devastation that I was going through. So I think a friendly daily reminder to yourself, whether it's an app on your phone that you get, that social media isn't real. And that is coming from someone whose full-time job is social media. Don't get me wrong. I love social media. I think it is a beautiful place. I am so grateful for it. My community that I have worked so hard to build on social media, I've worked really hard for. I am grateful for it, but it has come at a cost. One of those being, I get asked all the time, why do I always post the negative comments? Why do I always give attention to the trolls? Why do I always share the negative DMs? Why do I not focus on the positives? First of all, we're only human. You could get 100 nice comments, 100 compliments, but you're going to always remember the one negative. It's just in our nature to fixate on the negatives. We're only human. But my logic behind exposing the trolls, because it is a question I get a lot, because it does seem quite negative. I get hundreds of beautiful messages every single day from you guys. You guys are honestly the most supportive, kind, uplifting humans. I love my audience and I love my followers so much. It is a beautiful community. 18 months ago, I was getting an influx of hate. It still didn't outnumber the positive, but it was more than any person should get. And the reason why I fixate on it, fixate for lack of a better word, is because I don't want to reward bad behavior by allowing them to get away with it. My analogy is shoplifters will keep shoplifting until they get caught. The same as a bully or an online troll will most likely keep bullying, keep trolling online until they get called out. who knows? 9 times out of 10, they'll probably just keep doing it. But if I am stopping 1 in 10 bullies online from ever sending another hateful message, I'm doing my job, because I would never forgive myself if someone sent me a horrible message, and because I'm accustomed to it and I've developed this thick skin over years of copying this shit, that I'm just like, whatever, water off a duck's back. And then they go on to send it to another person online with a large following, or even someone that they go to high school. They bully someone they go to school with, and that person does something to their lives that's irreversible. I would never forgive myself. If I had the opportunity to do something about it and I didn't, it would kill me. So I don't reward bullies with keeping them anonymous. If they think that sending me a private DM will protect them, think again. If they're dumb enough to post it publicly, I'm going to draw attention to it. I don't reward bad behavior. I never have, and I never will. And for about 6 months, I was known as that bitch online that just constantly trolled her trolls, because you know what it got me? It made a lot of people scared to never comment anything horrible. And I'm not meaning constructive criticism. I'm not meaning warranted feedback. I'm meaning downright awful messages, calling me fat, calling me ugly. I had a girl before just send "you're ugly" in a message, and she follows me, and I'm like, what? I don't understand. I'm meaning downright nasty people. I will never reward this behavior. And I will also never understand people that tell me I'm being a bully for exposing them. I'm sorry, but don't bring a knife to a gunfight. If your 400 followers can't fight my 400,000 followers, that sounds like a you problem. Maybe think before you send a shitty message next time. And if your logic behind sending the shit message is, oh, she's got 400,000 followers, like she's not going to see it anyway, or I didn't think you'd see it, why send the fucking message? Your logic is shooting you in the foot. Don't send the message, because whether you have a big following or a small following, whether you post nothing on Instagram or you're active every single day, you have a responsibility and you have a power. If you're hate following people, it's one of the most toxic things you could be doing. I urge any of you that are hate following people online to please stop, because it's so toxic. It's just fueling hate. Why? Think about why you are. Logically, they're doing something that you either wish you could be doing. There's a jealousy that is fueling that hate follow. But the best way that you can punish someone online that you don't like or you don't support, or someone that has done something that you no longer support them, remove the engagement. Stop following them. Stop commenting on their shit. Stop sending them messages, because you are putting money in their banks. I remember a YouTuber somehow added up all the hate comments and like hate views that she got in some way, and she basically figured out that they gave her the down payment on the house that she now lived in, purely just from hate comments alone. So the best way you can punish the people that you don't like online is by not engaging with them at all. You sending them a hate message is doing nothing. So to finish, actually no, you as a follower have a responsibility as much as me with a large following has a responsibility. Just be careful any insecurities you may be projecting onto people, any comments you might be making or any messages you might be sending. I receive a lot of backhanded compliments, and it has been quite disheartening in the past. And I think that a lot of people are very quick to pass the blame onto influencers and people with a large following. And yes, influencers have made a lot of fucking mistakes, and there are a lot of bad influencers in this world that just don't deserve your follow and don't deserve your engagement, whether it's negative or positive. I think the best thing you can do is remove yourself as a follower. That is the best way that you can punish someone that you don't agree with. I'm not sticking up for influencers. There are a lot of shit influencers in this world that don't deserve it, that don't deserve the following. But I don't think you're achieving anything by sending that hate. And I think that you could do something so much better with your time and follow people that you actually care and enjoy. Because whilst I've listed the many like terrible things about social media is a beautiful place. It is so supportive and wonderful, and there are so many beautiful people that you can follow. Because as much as I've listed negative things, when I came off the show, people compared me to Nigel Thornberry because I had a huge nose, and I'd never had an insecurity with my nose. I never cared about my nose. And then all of a sudden I was like, holy fuck, find me a plastic surgeon ASAP. I need a nose job. Never in my life. I'd never even been put to sleep. And all of a sudden I wanted to go through this facial reconstruction surgery because people sent me Nigel Thornberry memes. And I was like, fuck my life. But in saying that, I always hated my legs. I hated my knock knees. I thought I had big thighs. But I had so many kind messages and comments about people loving my legs. And now my legs are my favorite feature of my body because I had so many lovely things said about it. And I know that it's vain and it's a very quick example, but social media has so much power, positive and negative. And I think it's very easy to get absorbed in the negativity of it and to hate follow and to follow these hate influencer accounts and like hate celebrity accounts and these plastic surgery accounts that compare before and afters and try to expose celebrities. I think it's really easy to get caught up in that and to just feed into the hate online. I think it's every single person's responsibility to choose what you are absorbing online. It is so easy to hit that unfollow button. It's so easy to hit that block button, and I urge you to do it. If there's anything that I post that makes you feel shit about yourself, as sad as I would be to see you go, I would never want to be a negative impact on your life. And I hope that moving forward, I'm always positive and that I can continue to be open and honest with you guys because I love this relationship that I've worked so hard to have with you guys, because now no one sends hate. Everyone is kind. Everyone is lovely. You guys give me the best constructive criticism. I hope that I can continue to be a positive account for you guys to follow. I hope that I'm always open and honest with you guys and that I always leave you feeling good about yourselves. But I don't want you to think that you can't unfollow the people that you once connected with, that you once looked up to. It is a natural progression in life to outgrow some people. I would rather you unfollow the people that you don't enjoy, if I am included in that. I would rather you just follow the people that inspire you and uplift you. But I hope that my account remains to be a kind and uplifting and funny and stupid place where you can feel normal and be yourself. And this show as well, I hope it becomes a safe space for you guys, and I hope it becomes a place full of resources and like a big sister chat where we can just talk about anything. And I hope today's episode wasn't too negative, but I wanted it to be a little bit more of an insight as to my experience on social media and my side of it. And I hope it wasn't too negative because, like I said, social media is a wonderful place. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. And if there's anything else I left untouched, we can always do a follow-up episode on social media. But that is all for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And I will see you guys in next week's episode. Bye, guys.